Sleep with my husband and bear me a child, my sister. You're my only hope. You must save my marriage. You have to help me, Mma. Chiamaka begged her twin sister, Chidimma. How can you expect me to sleep with your husband? That is abomination, Chidimma protested. But her sister was adamant. Do you want me to lose my marriage? Do you want me to lose the man I love? Mama, my sister, you cannot abandon me now. Save me, please. Chiamaka pleaded with tears. Chiamaka and Chidimma were identical twin sisters who loved each other dearly. They copied each other in everything, both in styles and mannerisms. When they were younger, they would swap places to escape punishment from both parents and teachers. They fooled a lot of people, including their family, because it was difficult for people to tell them apart. But as they grew older and started to like boys, they maintained different styles. So their boyfriends would not mistake one for the other. During their university days, Chiamaka met and married the love of her life, Udoka, but that was 3 years ago. Chiamaka had not been able to conceive for her husband, and now she was getting desperate. But what she was asking her sister to do was unthinkable. Chidimma advised her to go for medical checkup, but Chiamaka explained that she had already seen different doctors and each had confirmed that she was infertile, something she had kept a secret from her husband. Chidinma urged her to talk to her husband Udoka. She insisted that Udoka loved her, so he would be okay and we might even consider adoption. But Chiamaka insisted that even if Udoka was willing to consider adoption, his people will never accept it. So she continued to beg Chidimma to get pregnant for her husband, crying that she did not want to lose her husband or to be kicked out of her marriage. But Chidimma could not accept it. I'm sorry, Chi, but I cannot do what you are asking me. It is morally wrong. I can never do something like that. But Chiamaka begged and begged, insisting that it will be okay. Please, my sister, she begged. You are not even in any relationship. It is not as if you'll be cheating on anyone. Besides, this is not a sin. I'm the one begging you to do this. So you're not doing anything wrong. But no matter how much she begged, Chidimma adamantly refused. For weeks, Chiamaka cried and pleaded with her sister to help save her marriage. And finally, Chidimma gave in and agreed to do what her sister wanted. So Chiamaka suggested that her sister would visit them and stay a while, and each night she would take her place in her husband's bed. But Chidimma refused. I can't sleep with your husband knowing you are sleeping across the room, Ma said, still looking for a way to get out of the situation. After thinking for a while, Chiamaka said that she has been yearning for a vacation, so she will use the opportunity to get some rest. 2 weeks later, Chiamaka welcomed Mma into her home, then left as her the next day with instruction for Mma to call her once she's pregnant. Initially, Mma couldn't do it every night. She avoided sleeping with Udoka with different excuses. But at a point, Udoka was getting fed up. So Mma swallowed her morality and slept with her sister's husband night after night. 6 weeks later, she called her sister and gave her the good news. Chiamaka came home 2 days later and they met at Mma's apartment. After celebrating the pregnancy, Chiamaka told Mma to take care of the pregnancy, then went home to her husband. 3 months later, she told her husband that she was pregnant and needed her sister to stay with her to take care of her. So, Mma moved into their home. Months later, Adoma, her daughter, was born. At the hospital, Chiamaka hugged her sister tight and thanked her for making such a sacrifice for her. 1 year later, she went back to Chidimma, begging her to have another child for her. She insisted she needed a male child to solidify her position in her husband's house. And because of the love for her sister, Chidimma agreed again. And this time, she was pregnant with a boy. During the pregnancy, however, it was discovered that Chidimma had uterine fibroid. She was in pain throughout the pregnancy, but Chiamaka insisted that they must keep her condition a secret from her husband because it will be hard to maintain the lies later. So they tried to manage the pain in secret. During childbirth, the doctor advised for a cesarean section, but because it would be difficult to explain later if there was no surgical scar on Chiamaka's belly, so she begged Mma to insist on normal delivery. Though her life was at risk, Mma agreed and insisted on normal delivery. There were complications, but in the end, her life was saved, and soon Tochukwu, Chiamaka's son, was born. For months after delivery, Mma was in pains. At a point, the pains were too much to bear that she has to undergo abdominal myomectomy, a surgery to remove the fibroids. However, the fibroids grew back, and as months went by, the pain became unbearable, leaving Mma with no option but to completely remove her womb through a medical process called hysterectomy. And that completely ruined Chidimma's chance of ever having her own children. After Chidimma lost her womb, Chiamaka became paranoid with the irrational fear that her sister would lay claim on her children. So she started avoiding her, and their relationship began to suffer. Anytime Mma mentioned visiting her sister to see the children, Chiamaka would find an excuse to stop her sister from visiting. Even her mother and brother Dalo started to avoid Chidimma. In fact, they completely cut her off and abandoned her when she needed them the most. One day, during a family gathering that Chidimma was not invited to, she appeared and confronted her family. What did I do to all of you, especially you, Chiamaka? How can you cut me off after what I did for you? She demanded. What you did for me? You mean sleeping with my husband and bearing his son? Ma was shocked to hear her say that aloud, since it was supposed to be a secret. Chidimma, I knew we were supposed to keep it a secret, but I couldn't bear it anymore. I tried, Ma. I tried to bear it, to keep your secret, to cover your shame, to forgive you. But it's tearing me apart. I'm sorry. I have to tell everyone. I told my husband and I told my mom and brother. I am sorry. Forgive me, please. Chiamaka said, crying. Ma was confused. What forgiveness was she talking about? How could you do that, Chidimma? How could you pretend to be your sister to sleep with her husband? How could you think of bearing his child? Their mother shouted at her. Chidimma was confused. Why are they making it look as if she did something wrong? Chidimma, I knew you've always been jealous of your sister, but this is sacrilege. It is a taboo, her brother Dalu said. Chidimma protested that she had never been jealous of her sister before. She asked what was going on, but nobody was listening to her. Months ago, in order to protect herself and her children, Chiamaka lied to everyone that Chidimma came to her house, pretended to be her, and slept with her husband. And when she got pregnant, they both tried to cover it up to protect their family reputation. So they claimed Chiamaka was the one pregnant. But since then, she had never been herself. The pain and the hurt was killing her, so she has to tell everyone the truth. When Udoka, her husband, heard it, he was so angry. He wanted to lock Chidimma up for what he called violation of his person, but Chiamaka begged him. So in the end, he agreed to let Chidimma go, but insisted he didn't want to set his eyes on her ever again. It was why everyone cut her off and why her family were so angry with her. Chidimma could not believe what was happening. How could all her sacrifices be turned against her? She almost lost her life when she gave birth to Somtoshuku, and she knew that if she was not pregnant when she discovered that she had fibroid, and if her sister did not insist that she push out the baby instead of the C-section that the doctor recommended, maybe she wouldn't have lost her womb. But she agreed to do it despite her life being in danger because it was for her sister and she loved her. How could they all turn against her? How could her own twin sister betray her like this? I am ashamed to have a daughter like you, Chidimma. Stay away from this family. I don't want to ever see you again, her mother said. I don't want to speak to you either, her brother declared. Chidimma wanted to defend herself, but before she could say anything, her sister interrupted. Mama, Brother Dalu, I know what Chidimma did was very wrong, but let's forgive her. We can't just cut her off. She's our family, my twin sister, and I love her very much. Chiamaka said, pretending to be the good one. However, her pleading made matters worse, causing the mother and the brother to insist that Chidimma is no longer part of the family. And after that, they stood and left, leaving the sisters alone. After they were gone, Mma looked at her sister. It was the face of the sister she had always loved. But at that moment, she seemed like an enemy. Why? Mma whispered. I am sorry, sis, but I have to protect myself. I can't have you coming to lay claim on my children now that you can't have yours, Chiamaka explained. The truth was that it never occurred to Mma to lay claim on Chiamaka's children. She believed that one doesn't have to give birth to a child to be his or her parents. Adoption is something she had considered and accepted. But out of fear, her own twin sister had destroyed everything she had just to protect herself. Goodbye, sister, Chiamaka said, then stood and left. After Chiamaka left, Chidimma broke down and cried. She cried for hours and for weeks. She sat in her room thinking of what to do, whether to try and get revenge, but in the end, she decided to move on with her life. Now that she has lost her family thanks to her sister, she decided to leave Asaba, where they were all living, and relocate to Lagos. She was a graphic designer and got most of her clients online, so relocating to Lagos did not affect her business. One day, Chidimma witnessed a fatal accident that claimed the lives of some roadside beggars and traders. Among the victims was a beggar with a 4-year-old daughter. Her daughter had gone to buy pure water when the accident happened, so she was spared. Though the little girl was covered in death, her innocent, sorrowful cry for her mother captured Mma's heart. She spoke to the authorities, and after months of legal proceedings, she was allowed to adopt the girl, whose name was Gift. Chidimma brought her home and showered her with love. She registered her in one of the best schools around her area. Gift was very smart and a happy child, so everyone liked her. Years later, when Gift was about to graduate from primary school, Chidinma promised that if she did well in her exams, she would take her to amusement park in Lagos State. The girl worked hard and was the best in her class. So Chidinma kept her promise and took her to the amusement park. After hours of having fun, Chidinma, who was afraid of heights, finally braced herself to take her daughter for a roller coaster ride. When suddenly a little boy of Gift's age touched her and said, "Mommy, why are you with that girl? Who is she? And when did you change your clothes?" Chidinma looked at the boy and wondered why he was calling her mommy. Could he be Somtochukwu, her sister's son? But what were they doing in Lagos? Before she could respond to the boy, Gift pointed ahead and asked, "Mommy, why does that lady look like you?" Chidimma looked at where she was pointing and saw her sister Chiamaka standing with her husband and her daughter Adoma. Chidimma grabbed her daughter's hand and tried to leave, but Chiamaka stepped in her way, stopping her. "Mma, where have you been? I've been searching everywhere for you. Thank God you are okay," she said, but Mma ignored her and tried to leave again. But Chiamaka was having none of it. "I'm not going to let you disappear again. Mama and brother are worried about you. They will like to see you," she insisted. "Tell them that you have seen me and that I'm fine, but you must excuse me." Chidimma said and tried to move away. But this time, her sister was not the only one trying to stop her, but her husband too. All these years, my wife and your family had suffered because they had no idea what happened to you, Udoka said, making Chidinma to wonder what was going on. Quickly, Chiamaka begged for her forgiveness and explained that everyone knew the real truth now. 2 years ago, her daughter Adoma had needed a bone marrow transplant, and Udoka, her husband, was not in the country, so he asked Chiamaka to be the donor. Chiamaka had hoped to be a match since she and Chidimma were twin sisters, but she was not. It was then that she confessed to everyone that she was not Adoma's mother. Udoka had cut his visit short and rushed home to save his daughter. After that, everyone was angry with Chiamaka, but she cried and begged so they forgave her. But what they couldn't forgive completely was the way she drove Chidimma away. Chiamaka and Udoka pleaded with her to go and see her mother and her brother, who were also in Lagos. Chidimma agreed and met with them. They begged her to forgive them. She did, but she could not forget the way they condemned her without even caring to hear her own side of the story. She was not sure she would be able to open her heart again for people to betray her the way her family had done. The only one who has her heart completely was her daughter Gift. She was determined to live the rest of her life loving and caring for her daughter. Years later, Gift became one of the sought after graphic designers in the country, but unlike her mother, she had a physical company with lots of people working for her. Her company became a household name, and later she fell in love, got married, and have her own children. Chidinma's joy and satisfaction were complete. Though she occasionally met with her siblings and their families, but the relationship was never the same.